This video is going to help you to improve a skill that's tested across all four parts of the IELTS exam, so in listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And it might be a reason why you're not getting the grade that you need. What skill do you think this could be? It's tested throughout. It relates to grammar and vocabulary and also coherence and cohesion. It's paraphrasing. This means to put it in other words. Quite often you're simplifying or making a bit shorter. In the IELTS exam, you don't have to do that too much, but when you are studying at university, doing a bachelor's or master's, then you will need to paraphrase quite often when you're writing essays, for example. Be careful when you are paraphrasing. If it doesn't really make sense what you're writing or saying, the words that you use should be very close in meaning. So if you can't paraphrase, then don't, but I will give you some tips later on how to do so. You do need to have a wide enough vocabulary to be able to paraphrase effectively. If you don't, then you won't be able to use synonyms and similar words, and you will struggle a bit. And this will also impact your reading and listening grades as well. I'll give you some tips later on how to improve your vocabulary so that you can paraphrase. But like, follow, and subscribe for more IELTS tips and vocab lessons. So how do you paraphrase? You change the words, you change the order of the sentence, and you also change the grammar. If you can do all three, this is ideal. At least change the words is my advice. We'll talk about when you do this in the IELTS exam shortly. So we will look at some examples of paraphrasing in speaking, in writing, in listening, and in reading, so you can see how this goes through the whole exam. So here's an example of speaking. This is speaking part 1. And the examiner will ask you, do you like to travel by train? And if you just reply, yes, I like to travel by train, you've not given the examiner any new language to look at or to think about. So you've not really proven your ability. So you would need to paraphrase this. Just pause the video for a minute and think about how you would do that. So thinking about how you would change the words, you could change like to enjoy, and then you could change travel to traveling. You could use the word locomotive for train, but it's a bit old-fashioned, so you do have to sometimes be careful about the words that you choose. So yeah, it would be okay to just say, yeah, I really enjoy So it would be okay to say, yes, I really enjoy traveling by train. And that would be paraphrased enough. You're not just parroting the question back to the examiner. In writing, so in task 1 writing, you have to write about a graph or a chart or a diagram. You need to paraphrase the first part of the question in your introduction. So you'd have to paraphrase, the graph gives information about the age of the population of Iceland between 1990 and 2020. So you would say something like, the bar chart compares the ages of the population of Iceland between 1990 and 1920. So you could change some of the words there. Let's have a look at an example. So the graph gives information. So all of these things are words that you can change here in this left column. In the middle gives information about. So you can change the grammar here. And remember, when you change the order, time adverbials only go at the beginning or at the end of a sentence. So try to not put that in the middle if you can help it. Also, you need a subject, verb, object order to your sentence. Let's have a look at some examples. So I thought I'd highlight the way that they wrote shows. So students often write, the graph shows, or the bar chart shows. And you can use some nicer expressions than shows. So the provided graph depicts, information on is presented in the graph. The graph provides insights into how the population was distributed. This is really nice. This graph presents details on, The bar chart compares. The chart illustrates data regarding. So all of these ways are really good ways to talk about shows when you're writing about a task 1. Let's have a look at an example for task 2. So writing task 2, your general structure, it depends on the type of question, but your general structure is this. You will write a general background statement. More on this, have a look at my other videos to see the structure of task 2. And then you paraphrase the question. So this is what we're talking about today. Then you give your opinion and then you write an outline. But have a look at my other videos for advice on that. So we're looking at number 2 here, paraphrase the question. So let's have a look at an example. Some people think that universities should not provide so much theoretical knowledge, but give more practical training throughout their courses. So that's what you need to be paraphrasing in that second sentence of your introduction. So if we have a look at this model answer, in the past, many academics held the opinion that universities should only offer a theoretically based approach. So this is instead of saying theoretical knowledge to teaching throughout their courses. They've kept throughout their courses, but they've moved it, as opposed to the more recent trend towards empirical acquisition of knowledge, involving more hands-on experience. So they have lengthened that. They've made it a bit longer, and that's okay for the IELTS exam. Sometimes you do need to be a bit more wordy. So keep that in mind as well. You might be adding words in order to make it clear. So you can see here that's the paraphrase of the question and the general background combined. So have a go at this one. Most people do not care about environmental issues. So that's the part of the question you're going to paraphrase. Just pause the video for a minute and think about how you would paraphrase this. Here's an example. So with the full paragraph introduction, the full introduction paragraph, it's certainly true that environmental problems should be taken seriously in order to prevent disaster in the future. However, most people do not take this threat seriously enough. Now, this threat refers back to environmental problems. So they're using a bit of coherence and cohesion here by referring back to something they mentioned earlier. So the examiner will look at that and think, oh, that's quite good coherence and cohesion as well. So people don't take it seriously enough. Feel free to write your paraphrases in the comments as well. In the listening test, you will hear answers that won't be the same as written on your test. So if we have a look at this example. So the questions, the topic is cities by the sea. It's question 21. Carla and Rob were surprised to learn that coastal cities what? So A, contain nearly half the world's population. B, include most of the world's largest cities, or C, are growing twice as fast as other cities. So these are your 3 options, and then when you're listening, you will hear the script below. So Carla says, yeah, though that's all cities, not just ones on the coast, but most of the biggest cities are actually built by the sea. I'd not realised that before. So most of the biggest cities are built by the sea. Is that A, B, or C? Hopefully you chose B. The world's largest cities, coastal cities mean by the sea. So biggest, largest, there's your paraphrase. So this happens quite often in the listening test as well. In reading, then, paraphrase, more difficult now, I think. So we've got this reading. Just have a quick skim read through that. What's the main topic of the paragraph? What words do you keep seeing? What words do you keep seeing coming up? So you start to see words like wood, trees, cut. So you're looking at the verbs and the nouns when you're reading to try and get the main idea. And then we look at the questions. So some dead wood is removed to avoid the possibility of something. Now, this is a one word answer. Then I'm looking for avoid the possibility of. What's another word to avoid possibility? The word you're looking for is prevent, so fire prevention. So to avoid the possibility of fire is your answer here. Reading is a bit more difficult because sometimes the answers come in a different order than what you would read the question in. So you have to look quite carefully for the answer. And the same with the next one. So the from the tops of cut trees can help improve soil quality. So we see this towards the end of this paragraph. The tops of trees that have been cut down should be left on the site. So what is it that's going to improve soil quality? The tops from the tops of cut trees? That doesn't make sense. There's only one other noun here in this sentence that we could use, and it's nutrients. So the nutrients can help improve soil quality. So that makes logical sense here as well. In summary, you need to keep in mind that paraphrasing is important in all parts of the test. You need to improve your vocabulary to be able to recognize and use it. Don't overuse paraphrase to the point where it doesn't make sense. If you're not sure about the meaning of a word, don't use it. Focus on being clear and making sense. That's really important. Practice with friends or with a teacher. Try and think of synonyms and antonyms for words. So synonyms are words with a similar meaning and antonyms are opposites. Make vocabulary lists and brainstorm them by topic. So IELTS has some typical topics that they have, like travel and transport, health and illness, tourism. So making vocabulary lists can be really useful, and read more is also a really important thing. And watch my videos because I'm going to help you improve your vocabulary and IELTS skills in general. So please like and subscribe.